Where are you going dressed like that? Roman Caruso's voice cut through the penthouse before Sofia Bellini reached the door. She stopped so abruptly her heels clicked twice against the marble, sharp and exposed, and her fingers tightened around the thin gold chain of her purse as if it could anchor her in place. For a moment, she thought she'd imagined it. Roman didn't speak to her unless it was necessary, unless something needed doing, unless a problem needed fixing, and none of those things sounded like the way he had said that. Then he said her name. Sofia. She turned slowly. Roman stood at the end of the hallway, framed by the city's glow spilling through the glass wall behind him, black shirt open at the collar, sleeves rolled to his forearms, hair still damp like he'd just dragged his hands through it without thinking. His eyes were on her. Not calm. Not distant. There was surprise there, sharp and unguarded, and something darker underneath it that made his jaw tighten as if he were biting back words he didn't allow himself to have. Sofia swallowed. "Good evening, Mr. Caruso." He didn't answer. He walked toward her instead. Her heart began to race, loud enough that she was sure he could hear it, because in the year she had worked for him, Roman Caruso had never approached her like this, never with focus, never with intention. The hallway lights felt brighter now, unforgiving, and she suddenly became acutely aware of the red dress clinging to her body, the thin straps on her shoulders, the low neckline, the hem resting higher on her thighs than anything she owned. She had told herself it was just fabric. Standing under his gaze, it felt like a mistake. He stopped an arm's length away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, clean and subtle, and his eyes moved over her without apology, from her face to her shoulders, down the curve of her waist, and back up again. Roman exhaled slowly through his nose. "I'll ask again," he said. "Where are you going dressed like that?" "It's my night off," Sofia replied, lifting her chin even as her pulse jumped. "I'm going out." "You go out every week." "Yes." "You don't go out like this." The way he said that made heat crawl up her neck, not mocking, not disapproving, just personal in a way that unsettled her. She straightened her shoulders. "I have a date." The words landed harder than she expected. Roman's eyes narrowed. "With who?" She hesitated, then forced herself not to shrink. "A guy I met at a coffee shop." "You gave your number to a stranger." "He's not a stranger anymore." His jaw flexed. "And you're meeting him alone at night in that dress." Sofia crossed her arms lightly, a useless instinct to cover herself. "I finished all my tasks," she said carefully. "The kitchen is clean. The guest room is done. Your schedule is on the counter. I clocked out." "I know." "Then this isn't your concern." For a second, something flickered in his eyes that looked almost like irritation aimed inward. "That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" she asked before she could stop herself. Roman stared at her. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked like a man searching for an answer he didn't already have. Finally, he spoke. "It's about safety." Sofia let out a short, disbelieving breath. "I clean your house. You work for me. I change sheets. They watch everything connected to me. No one is watching me." "You're wrong." His voice sharpened, and the shift made her still. "People look for weaknesses." "I'm not your weakness." Roman held her gaze. "No," he said. "You're my responsibility." The word landed in her chest and stayed there, heavy and unfamiliar, and for a moment she didn't trust herself to speak. "I'll be careful," she said quietly. "It's just a rooftop bar. There will be people around." "Which bar?" She frowned. "What?" "The name." She told him. Roman went very still. "That place belongs to a man I do business with," he said. "Some of his clients are not careful people." He pulled his phone from his pocket. "You're not going there without coverage." Her stomach tightened. "I don't want security following me." "They won't approach." People will notice. People already notice you. His gaze flicked over her again, slow and deliberate, and her face warmed despite herself. She folded her arm across her stomach. I don't want to cause trouble. Roman's fingers moved quickly as he typed. Too late, he said. You already did. There was something almost amused beneath the edge in his voice, something dangerous, and the floor beneath her felt like it had shifted just enough to throw off her balance. I should go, she said. Wait. She froze. Roman moved past her, close enough that his shoulder brushed her arm, heat and tension colliding in a way that made her breath hitch, and gestured toward the glass wall overlooking the city. Stand here. She did. Her reflection stared back at her, framed by lights and height and glass, and for the first time she saw herself the way someone else might. Not the maid who moved quietly through rooms. A woman in red who did not disappear. Roman stood just behind her, his presence a dark shadow at her back. That's how they'll see you tonight, he said quietly. Sophia met his eyes in the reflection. And how do you see me? Roman hesitated. Different, he said. I've been blind. Her heart skipped. Blind to what? He didn't answer. Outside, the city pulsed, unaware that something had already started to unravel. Roman broke the silence first. It doesn't matter what you call yourself, he said. To them, you're close to me. Sophia turned away from the glass. I don't belong to you. No, he agreed. But my world doesn't care about that distinction. She faced him again. I won't spend my life hiding. Something in his expression shifted, sharp approval cutting through the tension. I don't want you hiding, Roman said. I want you protected. He pulled his phone from his pocket again, already moving, already deciding. You're sending men, she said. I'm assigning distance. That's the same thing. It isn't. His fingers paused. They'll be invisible, he added. But if something goes wrong, they won't hesitate. Sophia studied his face. You already decided. Yes. She exhaled, slow and controlled. Then I'm really going to be late. Roman's mouth curved slightly, humor buried under restraint. I'll survive. She turned toward the elevator, pulse still racing, aware of his gaze following every step. Don't disappear, he said quietly. The words followed her into the elevator like a warning. 20 minutes later, Sophia stepped onto the rooftop bar, the city opening around her in glittering height and sound. Music drifted low and smooth, glasses clinked, laughter floated through the warm night air, and for a moment she let herself breathe. She spotted Ethan Cole near the bar. He waved, smile easy, posture relaxed, button-down sleeves rolled like he wanted to look casual without trying too hard. You made it, he said, leaning in for a brief hug. She returned it politely, already noting the difference. His touch was light, unconsidered. You look, he paused, eyes flicking over her dress. Wow. Hi, Ethan. I didn't expect this. The emphasis lingered. They took a table near the railing, the city stretching endlessly beyond them, and she reminded herself why she'd come. To stop being invisible. To choose herself. Ethan talked easily, ordering drinks without asking, gesturing toward the view, filling the space with words that didn't require much listening. You work early, right? He said. We don't have to stay long. She smiled faintly. I can decide that. He laughed, like it was a joke. Somewhere behind her, she felt it. A pressure in the air. The sense of being observed. She didn't turn. Not yet. You clean houses, right? Ethan asked, sipping his drink. That must be tiring. I work in a private residence. Well, hey, he said. Money's money. The words landed wrong. She shifted in her seat. You're very dressed up for that kind of job. Her smile thinned. Across the bar, Two men stood near the railing, posture too straight, eyes moving in patterns that didn't match the music or the crowd. Her stomach tightened. Roman's men. He had meant it. "You okay?" Ethan asked. "Yes." He followed her gaze, scoffing. "Those guys. They're always here. Think they own the place." She didn't correct him. She didn't need to. Her phone buzzed in her purse. She checked it reflexively. A message from her friend lit the screen. "Send a picture." She tucked the phone away without replying. "Boyfriend?" Ethan teased. "No." He leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly. "Good." The word carried weight. Something shifted again. She felt it this time with certainty. She turned her head. Roman Caruso stood near the entrance. Black jacket over his shirt now, hands in his pockets, still as a held breath, eyes locked on her like the room had narrowed to a single point. He didn't belong here, and yet the space seemed to bend around him. Her pulse spiked. Ethan followed her gaze. "Who's that?" She didn't answer. "He looks intense," Ethan said. "Kind of scary." Roman didn't move, didn't speak, didn't look away. Ethan laughed uneasily. "That your boss?" Her silence was enough. "Well," Ethan added, lowering his voice, "I guess I'd be protective too if someone like you worked for me." His hand slid across the table, fingers brushing hers. The touch was brief, unimportant, and yet the air sharpened. Across the room, Roman's jaw tightened. Sophia pulled her hand back. "I think I should go." Ethan blinked. "What?" "It's late. We just got here." "I know." She stood. He frowned. "So that's it?" "Yes." She turned away before he could say more. Roman stepped aside as she approached, clearing her path without a word, his presence a solid wall between her and everything behind her. At the top of the stairs, his voice stopped her. "Sophia." She turned slowly. "What happened?" "Nothing. Don't lie to me." She held his gaze. "It wasn't right." His eyes darkened. "Did he touch you?" "No." Roman nodded once. "You're not taking the subway home." "I wasn't planning to." "Good." She hesitated. "Roman, I'm driving you." The decision settled heavy and final between them. And for the first time that night, Sophia didn't argue. The night air hit Sophia the moment they stepped outside, cool enough to raise goosebumps along her arms. Roman noticed instantly. Without a word, he slid his jacket from his shoulders and settled it around her, the weight of it grounding, familiar, and far too intimate for how natural it felt. "I'm fine," she said. "You're cold." His voice wasn't a question. The black SUV waited at the curb, engine idling, the driver already gone, dismissed before she could register him. Roman opened the passenger door and waited. Not rushed. Not impatient. She slid into the seat, her pulse still uneven, the jacket warm from his body. The door closed softly. When he got in beside her, the interior light flicked on for a brief second, catching the red dress, the way it curved against her, the way his jacket barely concealed it. Roman froze. The light snapped off. It didn't matter. He had already seen everything. The engine hummed as they pulled into traffic, the city lights streaking past the windows in a steady rhythm. Neither of them spoke. Sophia stared out at the glass and steel blurring together, her thoughts tangled between the bar, Ethan's careless words, and the way Roman had appeared like a shadow given shape. "You didn't enjoy the date," Roman said at last. She exhaled. "That obvious?" "Yes." "He wasn't bad," she said, then corrected herself. "Just wrong." Roman's hands tightened briefly on the steering wheel. "He didn't deserve your time." She glanced at him. "That sounds biased." "It's accurate." Silence returned, heavier now. She studied him from the corner of her eye. His jaw was set, eyes fixed forward, tension sitting in his shoulders like something coiled and waiting. "Roman," she said softly. He exhaled through his nose. "He should never have touched you." "He barely did." "That's not the point." She looked down at her lap. "I didn't want to make things awkward." "You don't owe men like him comfort." Her chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her so plainly. The car dipped into the garage beneath the building, the city swallowed by concrete and shadow, and Roman parked in his private space before cutting the engine. The sudden quiet felt too loud. They sat there, suspended. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for coming." "I told you," he replied. "You're not alone." He opened his door and stepped out, then came around to hers, pausing just long enough to look at her through the window like he was steadying himself. When he opened the door, his hand hovered at her elbow without touching. She took it anyway. The elevator ride up was silent, close, the faint hum of movement the only sound between them. Sophia stood with one hand resting lightly on the rail. Roman stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat of him, the tension rolling off in controlled waves. Neither crossed the space. The doors opened onto the penthouse, lights dimmed, city glowing beyond the glass, everything exactly as she'd left it and completely changed. She slipped his jacket from her shoulders. "Keep it," he said. She hesitated, then pulled it back around herself, fingers curling into the fabric. Roman watched the movement like it mattered. "I don't want you going back downstairs tonight," he said. "I'm not." Relief flickered across his face before he masked it. She moved toward the windows, one hand resting against the cool glass, the city reflected back at her in fragments of light. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said. Roman stepped closer. "I didn't want anyone else looking at you like that." Her breath caught. "Like what?" "Like they were allowed." She turned slowly. The space between them shrank without either of them stepping forward. Roman's gaze softened, dangerous and careful at once. "I should have noticed sooner," he said. "How you make yourself small." Her throat tightened. "You noticed." "I notice everything in my home. Including you." He didn't say it. He didn't need to. She swallowed. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why?" "Because I'll believe them." His breath hitched. He lifted a hand, stopping just short of her cheek, giving her time, space, choice. "Tell me to stop," he said quietly. She didn't. His fingers brushed her skin, light and reverent, and the world narrowed to that single point of contact. A vibration cut through the moment. Roman swore under his breath and pulled back, phone already in hand. Business. Always business. He silenced the call without answering. "You should rest," he said, voice controlled again. She nodded, disappointment sharp and unspoken. She took 3 steps away before his voice stopped her. "Sophia." She turned. His eyes held hers, intent and unflinching. "This isn't over." A shiver ran down her spine. She went to her room and closed the door softly, heart racing, the jacket still wrapped around her like a promise. That night, sleep came in fragments. And when it did, it carried the weight of his gaze and the certainty that something had already crossed a line neither of them could undo. Morning light brushed Sophia's face like a question she wasn't ready to answer. For a few disoriented seconds, she didn't know where she was. Then memory settled in. Roman's jacket. Roman's voice. Roman's hand stopping just short of her cheek. She sat up slowly, the weight of the night pressing into her chest, and only then noticed the quiet hum of the city already awake beyond her window. This wasn't a dream. She stood and crossed to the mirror, studying herself with unfamiliar eyes. She looked the same. And not at all. When she dressed, her hands trembled just enough to annoy her, every choice feeling heavier than it should have. By the time she stepped into the hallway leading to the penthouse, her pulse was already too fast. The smell hit her first. Coffee. Warm. Rich. Something sweet beneath it. She stopped. The penthouse lights were softer than usual, washed in morning gold, and the city beyond the glass looked calm in a way it never did at night. Flowers sat on the island. White. Fresh. Out of place. The table was set. 2 plates. 2 cups. Steam curling up like an invitation. "Good morning, Sophia." She turned. Roman stood near the living room, sleeves rolled, hair still damp, tie loose around his neck like he'd put it on and forgotten why. He looked human, unarmored. Her voice came out quieter than she meant it to. "You're up early." "I didn't sleep." Neither had she. He gestured toward the table. "I made breakfast." Her brows lifted despite herself. "You." "With help," he admitted after a beat. "A chef owes me a favor." She laughed softly before she could stop it. The sound surprised them both. "Sit," he said. She did. Roman watched her more than the food as she took her first bite. Her eyes widened. "This is good." A faint smile tugged at his mouth, brief and real. "I needed it to be." She set her fork down carefully. "I can clean up after." "No." The word was gentle but final. "You're not working today." She looked up. "Then what am I doing?" He met her gaze steadily. "Being here." The silence stretched, different from last night, warmer, heavier with things unsaid. "Last night shouldn't have ended the way it did," he said. Her chest tightened. "I didn't want to make things complicated." "They already are." He leaned back slightly, studying her like a problem he wasn't trying to solve anymore. "I've been blind," he said again. "And I don't like that." She swallowed. "To what?" "To you." The words landed clean and direct, with no place to hide from them. "I don't want to be a complication," she said. "You're not." "Roman." He leaned forward, forearms resting on the table. "I don't regret stopping you," he said. "I regret not stopping myself sooner." Her breath caught. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Once. Twice. He ignored it. "Dinner tonight," he said. Her fingers stilled. "You and me." She looked at him carefully. "Is that an order?" "No." A pause. "It's an invitation." "Yes," she said before doubt could catch up. His shoulders eased, just slightly. "I'll be back by 8. He stood, hesitating as if there were more he wanted to say, then reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. The touch was brief, deliberate. "Wear something you feel beautiful in," he said quietly. Her breath wavered. He walked away before she could answer, leaving the space charged and unsettled. The day passed slowly. Too slowly. By the time evening came, she'd changed outfits 3 times before settling on something simple, elegant, understated. Not hiding. Not loud. When she stepped into the penthouse again, the lights were dimmed, candles flickering, the city glowing deep blue beyond the glass. Roman stood by the table, adjusting one candle, and when he turned, he froze. Sophia stopped walking. "Is this okay?" she asked. Roman crossed the distance between them slowly. "You did exactly what I asked." His gaze moved over her with restraint that cost him something. Dinner passed in easy conversation, laughter soft and unexpected, stories exchanged without armor. After, they moved to the couch, space between them shrinking naturally. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm thinking about how different you are with me." He considered that. "Maybe I don't know how to be anyone else yet." She turned toward him. "That scares me." "It should," he said. "It scares me too." His hand rested on the back of the couch, close but not touching. "Tell me to stop," he said again. She shook her head. He leaned in, slow and careful, their foreheads touching, breath mingling. The knock came sharp and sudden. Roman cursed softly and pulled back. He handled it quickly. When he returned, his focus snapped right back to her. "I'm not letting tonight slip away," he said. Neither was she. The distance between them closed. And this time, nothing stopped it. Roman's hand cupped Sophia's jaw, warm and steady, his thumb resting just beneath her cheekbone like he was memorizing the shape of her face. The city hummed beyond the glass, distant and irrelevant. "I didn't plan this," he said quietly. "I know. I don't let people this close." Her breath trembled. "I can feel that." His gaze held hers, unflinching, stripped of calculation. "It's safer that way. And now I don't want safe." The admission cost him something. She leaned closer without realizing she'd moved. Roman's breath hitched. "Tell me if I'm wrong," he murmured. She shook her head. He closed the space between them with a kiss that wasn't rushed or desperate, but deliberate, controlled, like a man choosing to cross a line he knew he couldn't uncross. Her hand rested against his chest. His heart was racing. That changed everything. He pulled back just enough to look at her. "We go slow," he said. "Your pace." "I'm not afraid," she whispered. He smiled faintly, something soft and rare. "I am." He stood and held out his hand. "Come with me." He led her across the living room to a small wooden box near the bar, unlocking it with a key on a thin chain around his neck. Inside lay a delicate gold necklace. "I bought this months ago," he said. Her breath caught. "For who?" "For the woman I kept pretending I wasn't seeing." He stepped behind her and brushed her hair aside, fingers grazing her neck just long enough to make her shiver. "May I?" She nodded. The clasp clicked softly. When he turned her back around, his eyes dropped to the pendant resting against her skin. "It suits you," he said. She pressed her fingers to it, overwhelmed. "No one has ever." "I know." His thumb brushed away the tears she hadn't realized escaped. "This isn't temporary," he said. "Not for me." Her voice was steady when she answered. "Not for me either." His kiss this time was deeper, surer, the restraint still there but thinner now, fraying. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "Tomorrow," he said, "everything changes. For better. For us." Morning came quietly. Sophia woke before the sun, the necklace cool against her skin, the memory of his hands still vivid. She dressed slowly, heart steady in a way it had never been before. When she stepped into the living room, Roman stood by the windows, coffee in hand, city washed in pale blue light behind him. He turned instantly. The look on his face stole her breath. Relief. Warmth. Decision. "Good morning," he said. "I didn't sleep much." "Neither did I." He stepped closer. "I've been thinking about what I want this to be." "And honest," he said. "Real." He reached for her hand, giving her time. She took it. "I want you with me," he continued. "Not hidden. Not small." Her chest tightened. "I want to try." The relief in him was immediate. He kissed her then, slow and certain, sealing something neither of them would pretend away again. Later, in the private elevator, his thumb traced calm circles against her skin. When the doors opened downstairs, his security team waited. Roman didn't hesitate. "Sophia Bellini is with me," he said evenly. "She's to be treated with the same respect I expect for myself." No one questioned him. On the ride back up, Sophia leaned against the wall, breath unsteady. "That was a lot. It was necessary." He caged her gently, hands braced beside her shoulders. "I'm not hiding you." She smiled softly. "Good." That night, Standing beside him at the window, city lights stretching endlessly beyond the glass, Sophia knew the truth with absolute clarity. She was no longer invisible. And Roman Caruso would never let her be again.